Second chances is what my life has been all about.
Give us a great round of applause for Mr. Kenny Dobbs.
Thank you. How's everybody doing? You guys good? All right.
A lot of the motivation for me to dunk and put on these shows comes from just the young people that's out there in the crowds. A lot of times I'm able to connect with faces and see eyes out there that are watching, you know, and when I'm dunking, you know, and seeing their eyes light up and then be able to share the motivational speaking, and then they're just quiet and dialed in, that's what really motivates me to continue pushing forward. Because then I'm signing autographs later on and they come up and they tell me how much inspiration, how much motivation they took from the show and from this motivational speaking presentation. And they tell me how much that they want to pursue their goals and become that success story for their family as well. Every time I hear a story like that, or somebody else comes up and tells me, man, you know, I'm going to really commit to, you know, stopping drugs or alcohol or whatever it is that they're doing. You know, like today, these guys from the treatment center came in and was like, man, we've been clean for this long, but it's a struggle. But just hearing your story makes us want to continue to push forward that much harder. So when I hear stuff like that, I mean, that's the stuff that inspires me to continue to move forward when I'm doing. As far as changing my life goes, like I said, it was a series of a lot of unfortunate, but for me, thankfully, you know, fortunate events that took place in my life. I lost my cousin at an early age. He passed away. He was the oldest of my family. You know, I seen him begin to change his life before he passed. You know, he changed from the drugs, the gangs, and all that to beginning to, you know, change his life on a positive track. I wasn't ready for a change at that point, but, you know, that happened. You know, seeing the things that took place, my house getting shot up, me almost losing my sister, and then getting locked up for the robbery charge. I mean, those were all things that were, you know, bam, 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 that all took place in this moment of time that really caused me to just wake up. You know, my back was against the wall. I had nowhere else to turn to but to start making changes. Otherwise, I was going to be ended up dead or staying in prison. So when you're facing those kind of obstacles in your life, of course, you're going to begin to think, man, there's got to be a way out of here. You know, what can I do to change? So when that stuff took place, all I could do was figure out how am I going to change my life? And the ways that I went about that, like I said, I had to separate myself from the friends that were negatively impacting my life. I had to separate myself from all the girls that I was chasing at that time. And I had to stop selling drugs and using drugs and alcohol because those things were just holding me down and keeping me unmotivated. And I couldn't control it. So, I mean, I continued to push myself forward at that point. After cutting those things off, I wrote my goals down. You heard me say a lot of that to the kids today, man. Just writing your goals, living your dream. You know, you're never going to be able to accomplish that if you don't see it and live it on a daily basis. So that's what I began to do, you know, make those changes in my life, and here I am today, you know, product of making a conscious change and setting goals and, you know, following them through. And now, you know, here I am at the end of all that, having accomplished all those things, and starting right back to the beginning again, setting my new goals, you know, wanting to pursue the new NBA goals and dreams of making it there. So here I am.
Did everybody have a good time tonight?
After I started with the Sprite tours and I was winning all those dunk competitions, before that happened, I was working with an organization in Arizona, which was a youth advisory council. And I became the co-chair for that council. And I always had this passion of wanting to speak and help young people through my story and the things that I had been through and the things that I had overcame in my life. And so I felt like, man, you could play basketball and this guy could score 40 points. And then somebody can come in and just dunk on that guy and they forget about that 40 points. All they remember was that dunk. And so I began to realize, like, man, the dunking was probably the most influential play in the basketball game today. With the dunk contest, it's the most spectacular play. It gets people on their feet, excited. And I realized that if I can come in and do an awesome dunk show, jumping over people, dunking, doing all kinds of crazy dunks, you get the hardest guy, the gang members, the drug dealers, all these guys who are sitting there normally staying quiet, listening to somebody speak about God or speaking about changing in positive directions and things. They're crossing their hands and listening, they're not just shaking their head. They don't care. But I realized that when I can come up and dunk over somebody, those guys are now on their feet. Now they're jumping up. Then they begin to hear my story and the things that I begin to go through. And then now it becomes, instead of them glaring at me, now they're nodding their head and understanding the struggles that I've went through and the things that I've overcome. Because a lot of them are facing the same thing. A lot of them grew up the same way with drugs and with alcohol with their parents at home. So now they become to respect me, and they kind of open themselves up to actually hear what I got to say. That's what really became, that direction that pushed me to develop my organization. The reason I called it Uprise is because, I'm rising up. I'm jumping over, all these obstacles in my life. And so it worked out perfectly. I named the organization Uprise Youth Movement because I wanted youth to begin to rise up, and I wanted it to spread all across the U.S. That was my goal and my mission of creating my organization, and I feel like it's, continuing to move and build and grow strong from there. So as long as these legs are still working, man, I'm going to be out here dunking and, speaking to these youth.